My heart beat faster and faster. Something terrible was at the top of the stairs. I sensed it. But what? I desperately wanted to run away and return home, but I couldn't. The mysterious force inside me made me go on. On the third floor, I heard a noise. Someone was moaning. As I passed by the janitor's closet, the sound became louder. Someone needed help. I opened the closet. It was Mrs. Ching. The old teacher was on a chair with her hands and feet tied. She was gagged and her eyes were open in terror. "Mrs. Ching," I whispered. I took the cloth from her mouth. "Help," she said. "Someone is doing something wrong, and he or she is here now. The person is in disguise." "Okay, Mrs. Ching, stay here. Whoever it is mustn't suspect anything." I put the cloth back in the teacher's mouth and left the closet. I looked around the second floor. I was terrified. Everything was silent. The long, dark hall was very frightening. Then I noticed something. A light was on in the computer room. I crept to the door. Someone inside was working on a computer. I could hear fingers clicking on the keys. Slowly, very slowly, I opened the door. Just a crack. It was Mr. Adams. He was typing a kind of code on the screen. Was it a password? Then he took a small plastic object from his pocket. It looked like a key. He inserted it in the diskette slot. The screen blacked out. It flickered. Then something appeared. It was the face of an alien. The alien had a green head and big red eyes. It didn't have hair, and it didn't have a nose. Its mouth and ears were very small. Then Mr. Adams put his hands on his head. He was pulling at his hair. It started to come apart. He was taking off his hair, and his face. A green, bald head surfaced. I realized that he was identical to the alien on the screen. He put his face on the computer table. Then the false Mr. Adams started talking. "Clyreg calls base. Clyreg here. Clyreg calls base. Altank Pilex. Clyreg." "How is your mission proceeding?" said the alien on the screen with a mechanical voice. "For now, everything is okay, but I'm already tired of this mask, and I hate speaking this barbarian language." "English is not a barbarian language," I thought angrily. "I'm sorry, but your voice implant must stay inside you until the mission has finished. Then we can remove it. Tell me, does anyone suspect you?" said the alien. "No, I don't think so. I had a small problem with an old math teacher, but I was in disguise, and I tied her up in a closet, so everything's fine." "Ha ha, you're wrong. I'm here now," I thought. "I hope you're right. Our mission can't fail. The spaceship must come this Friday. We'll land in the old abandoned airfield. We'll wait for you there. By 9:30 p.m., you must be ready. You must have the 2 students to take to Mitrax. We can't be late. When the comet leaves the Virgo constellation, we won't be able to travel anymore. The intergalactic doors close on Friday at midnight," said the alien on the screen. I know. Don't worry. I must still choose the 2 students, but I think I know who I want. How will you capture the students? You can't touch them because you're electric. Aha! So the story of his prosthesis was a big fat lie, I thought. On Friday evening, there is a family teachers' meeting. During the meeting, I'll leave the other teachers, while the parents are listening to the teachers. I'll ask the students to come with me. I'll invent an excuse. Then I'll take them to the science lab and I'll spray them with my hypnotizing spray. Once they're hypnotized, they'll do everything I say. They won't be able to think or rebel. We'll go out of the building by the fire escape exit and walk to the airfield, said Mr. Adams Clyreg. I'm sure he wants me, I said to myself. Be at the airfield by 9:30 p.m. then, Clyreg. Good luck. Altank Pillix. Altank Pillix, Gortz, said Mr. Adams Clyreg to the alien on the screen. Then he took the key out, and the computer screen returned to normal. I silently closed the door and quickly went back to Mrs. Ching. I can't tell you anything. It's for your own safety. Just act normally, and no one will hurt you, I said. Who? Mrs. Ching started to ask, but I escaped down the stairs and ran out of the building. I stopped running when I was far from the school. My watch was still in the gym, but at that point, I didn't care. I had a lot of difficulty sleeping that night. I decided to tell Paul and Dana, but no one else. No one would believe me. Chapter 7: The Plan. The next day, as soon as I arrived at school, I went to the gym to look for my watch. Fortunately, it was still there. At lunchtime, I took Dana and Paul to an empty table and started my story. I decided to get to the point immediately. Mr. Adams is an alien, I said. No, not again. Are you doing this on purpose? Because if you're not, you have a problem, Paul exclaimed angrily. I thought you wanted to stop all this. I thought you were ashamed of your behavior. First Mr. Stone, now Mr. Adams, he continued, while Dana raised her eyebrows incredulously and suppressed a smile. I know I seem crazy, I said, feeling tears in my eyes, but I'm telling you the truth. I saw him with my own eyes. Please listen to me. I told them everything, from my mysterious sensation to the conversation between Mr. Adams, Clyreg, and the alien on the computer screen. Both my friends looked terrified and shocked. They finally believed me. Besides, I added, do you remember how he looked at the sun? It's incredible. I continued, he's green and his name is Clyreg. Other aliens are coming in a spaceship on Friday evening. They're going to land in the old abandoned airfield near our high school. They want to take 2 students with them to Mitrex. Mitrex? Asked Paul. Yes, it must be the name of their planet. This Friday? Added Dana. Exactly. During the family teachers meeting. He's going to hypnotize them with a spray and take them on his spaceship. Today is Thursday. We only have a day to do something, exclaimed Paul. I have an idea, I said. What? Asked my friends. We can try to find the hypnotizing spray and take it away from him. It can only be in 2 places, somewhere in his house or somewhere in the science lab. Good idea. This afternoon after he goes home, We can look for the spray in the lab. If the spray isn't there, tomorrow morning we won't go to school. We'll get into his house in some way and take the spray," added Paul. "But we don't even know where he lives," objected Dana. "Well, we'll find out," I said. "So we want to steal his hypnotizing spray. Maybe Matt can help us. He has a key that opens all doors," Dana said. "Dana's brother Matt is a policeman." "Are you sure he'll give it to you? I don't think he'll believe this story," I said. "Of course not. How can he believe something like this? I obviously have to steal the key." "I hope he doesn't notice. Stealing a passepartout from the police is a big crime," Paul commented. "Yes, but it's the only way to enter where we want. Don't worry, I'll be careful. Gee, Mr. Adams is so friendly and handsome. It's difficult to believe that he's a horrible green alien. Well, this afternoon I'll get the key." "Remember, don't say anything to anyone," I said. "This is our secret." "Okay, don't worry." "I hope everything will be okay," Paul said. We went to our afternoon classes. I couldn't wait for the day to finish. I was nervous and excited. Chapter 8: Paul's Decision. I constantly thought of the day before. I remembered when he took off his face. Behind that blonde hair there was a bald green head. Behind those brown eyes, 2 red ones. And behind the nose, nothing. I shivered. After school, I went with Dana to her house. Paul instead stayed at school to make sure that Clyreg went home. When Dana and I arrived at her house, there was no one there. "I hope Matt didn't take the key with him," said Dana. We went in. Dana went to her brother's room. I heard her open many drawers. I crossed my fingers. "Here it is!" Dana exclaimed. "Oh, great! Now let's go back to school," I said. "Wait! My mom will be back soon. I have to leave her a note." "I'll tell her I'm at the library," Dana said. We went back to school. Paul was sitting on the steps. "Has Clyreg left?" I asked. "Yes, we can go in," Paul answered. We went up to the science lab. When we arrived, we noticed that the door was open. Someone was whistling inside. "Oh no, it's the janitor," Paul whispered. "Let's hide in the bathroom," Dana suggested. "It's already been cleaned, so he won't come in." We quickly entered the girls' bathroom and hid. After some time, the janitor walked away. We heard him go down the stairs. "Okay, now," Paul said. We entered the lab and looked around. We opened the chemical cabinet with Matt's passepartout and examined every container. There weren't any sprays or strange bottles, so we tried the refrigerator. "What's this?" I said. Inside the refrigerator there was a spray without a label. It was very difficult to open, and it had a bizarre phosphorescence. "Wow, it's probably Clyreg's hypnotizing spray. But how can we be sure?" Paul asked. "We have to be sure that it's the right one. An error could be fatal. I have an idea. I can try the spray on my dog Fred. Fred hates taking baths and especially eating leftovers. I'll spray him. If he doesn't protest, we have the right spray," I said. "Excellent. Please phone me after and tell me the results," Paul said. I want to know too, Dana added. We carefully went out of the lab and left the building. When I arrived home, I prepared a big bath for Fred. Fred, Freddie, I called. The dog was in the garden. When he saw me with the big basin full of water, he barked and howled. He ran inside his doghouse. Silly dog, I thought. I took the spray, went to the doghouse and sprayed Fred. Then I called him again and I pointed towards the water in the basin. What a surprise! Fred calmly came out of the doghouse and jumped into the water. After Fred's bath, I went to the refrigerator and took out some leftovers. I put them in his dish and gave it to him. Food time, Fred, I said. Fred saw the leftovers and didn't protest. He started eating. It was incredible. I immediately phoned Dana and gave her the good news. Then I phoned Paul. Hi, Paul. It's me. We have the right spray. Fred has been completely hypnotized. Great. Listen, can you come to my house now? I need to talk to you. There was something strange in his voice. Paul, are you okay? I asked. Yes, I'm fine. I'll tell you everything when you arrive, okay? Please come, it's important. I took the bus and arrived at Paul's house. He was alone, as always. He was in his room with his cat, Apollo, in his arms. I want to go to Mitrax with Clyreg, Paul said. What? Yes, I want to go to Mitrax with Clyreg, Paul repeated. Are you kidding? You're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. Look at my life. My mother doesn't love me. She went away and never wants to see me. How do you think I feel? My father is always working. He doesn't care if I'm here or in Timbuktu. He only cares about his young blonde secretaries. At school, everyone thinks I'm strange. You're my only true friend in class. Jenny, I'm not happy here. Try to understand. This world isn't for me. I don't like my life. I want to test my destiny and see what happens to me. Honestly, I really don't think that Clyreg wants to hurt us students. How do you know? I asked angrily, shocked at what he was saying. He doesn't give me that impression. I'm sure the aliens just want to study us. I feel I can trust them. Also, you know I love space. I've always been interested in astronomy and alien life. This is a fantastic opportunity to see life on another planet, in another galaxy. This is my dream. This opportunity will never exist again. If aliens come to Earth at the next intergalactic meeting, they certainly won't come to our town again. Listening to Paul, I started to understand his point of view, but it was terrible to think that Paul didn't have anyone. No one really cared about him. I was very sad. Running away to another planet isn't the right solution to your problems, I said. But I've tried to talk to my father about my problems. I've tried many times. Nothing has changed. Listen, I want to go to Mitrax. I feel it's the right thing for me. Something inside is pushing me to go. Maybe going to Mitrax was the best thing for Paul, although I still couldn't believe it. If you're convinced, but I'll miss you, a lot. I'll never see you again, I said. Nothing is forever. You will see me again, I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep, I said with tears in my eyes. Believe me, Jenny, Sooner or later, when the next intergalactic door opens, I'll return, and I'll have many new things to tell you. Listen, he continued. We must organize our plan for tomorrow evening. When Clyreg takes the 2 students to the science lab, he'll open the refrigerator, but he won't find the spray. At that point, he won't be able to do anything because he can't touch us. If he touches us, he'll electrocute us, Paul explained. Then he won't be able to study us anymore, I interrupted. Exactly. So, when he sees that his mission has failed, the only thing he can do is go to the airfield and leave with his spaceship. He can't stay any longer because he can't miss his spaceship, and the spaceship can't wait for him. I won't come to the family teachers' meeting. I'll wait for Mr. Adams at the airfield. I sadly looked at Paul. Good luck. I'll wait for you, I said. Paul picked up Apollo and gave him to me. I want you to keep him. Take care of him for me. He came closer to me. For the first time, we kissed. My heart pounded. Oh, Paul, thanks for Apollo. Thank you very much. I stroked the black cat, and he purred. Chapter 9. Friday night, I went back home and passed by Dana's house to give her the passepartout. That night I didn't sleep. I thought about the next day, about Paul's decision, about Clyreg. Apollo mewed in the darkness. On Friday morning I got up early. I felt very tense. The day proceeded slowly. During the morning, the principal came to remind us of the meeting. Don't forget that this evening there's the family teachers' meeting. I hope to see all of you with your parents. Sure, I thought. And during the meeting, one of your teachers will try to kidnap 2 students and take them to a mysterious planet. When the school day finished, I went to the Rainbow for some ice cream with Paul and Dana. Paul told Dana about his decision. She was obviously very surprised and disappointed. Those moments we passed together were very special. I will never forget that last afternoon with Paul. Our friendship seemed stronger than before. We felt more united because of our separation. Finally, after dinner, my parents and I walked to school. We sat down in the auditorium and the meeting started. At one point, I saw Mr. Adams get up and go towards Dana's family. I saw him whisper something to Dana's parents and then to Dana. She got up from her chair and followed him. Together, they walked towards Stephen's family. Steve is another one of my classmates. I'm sure Clyreg chose him because Paul was absent. In fact, I noticed him looking for Paul. Steve, Dana, and Mr. Adams left the auditorium. So, he didn't choose me, I thought. I looked at my watch. 9:05. 25 more minutes. Suddenly I had an irresistible impulse. I wanted to see what was happening. I got up. Jenny, where are you going? My mom asked. I'm going to the science lab. Don't worry, I said, and I quickly walked away. The door of the lab was closed. Inside, I heard Mr. Adams opening the fridge. I imagined his anger. Oh, no, he exclaimed. Where is it? Where is what, Clyreg? Dana asked. Are you talking about the hypnotizing spray? You lost, Clyreg, she exclaimed triumphantly. What, Clyreg was shocked. What spray? What are you saying? said Steve, who didn't know anything about it. What courage Dana has, I thought. Mr. Adams had the power to electrocute her if he wanted. It was stupid to make him angry, but in the end it seems that Paul was right. Clyreg wasn't really a bad alien. "Well, I don't think you need us anymore," Dana said. The door opened and she walked out. "Come on, Steve. Everything's okay, let's go back to the meeting." Then Clyreg came out. He seemed confused and helpless. I looked at my watch. "Clyreg, it's 9:17, go. Don't miss your spaceship," I said, almost with compassion. Clyreg looked at me, even more surprised. Then he went to the fire escape exit and ran away. At that moment, I thought of Paul. I followed Clyreg down the fire escape stairs and out of the building. Our school is very close to the old airfield, so Clyreg and I reached it at 9:24. The spaceship was already there, waiting for Clyreg. Its portal was open, but all the lights were off. The aliens from Mitrax didn't want anyone to see them. Paul was there too. When he saw Clyreg, he ran towards him. "Clyreg, listen, I want to come with you. Take me with you. You can study me. I know you won't hurt me." Clyreg was literally shocked. "Come then, Paul. Hurry," he said, recovering from his amazement. "Paul," I shouted. "Jenny!" He ran to me, and we embraced. "This crazy adventure has finally finished. Fortunately, everything ended well for everyone," Paul said. "Think about me sometimes," I said. "I'll always think of you, and remember I'll be back." "Paul!" Clyreg shouted. He was on the stairs of the spaceship. "The portal is closing." "Have fun in Mitrax, you space lover," I said, laughing and crying at the same time. Paul went up the stairs and the portal closed behind him. The spaceship lights turned on and it silently went up into the dark night sky. I watched it disappear into the blackness. Then I hurried back to school. My parents were still at the meeting with everyone else. No one seemed to suspect anything. Dana and Steve sat calmly near their parents. I too went back to my mother and father, smiling innocently. Today, 6 months have passed. Everyone at school now knows the truth about Mr. Adams, although not everyone totally believes my story. We have a new science teacher. Her name is Miss Lundberg, and for the moment she seems normal. Dana and I have been to visit Mr. Stone a few times, and his relationship with our class has really improved. He seems a happier person, and this pleases me a lot. Steve is now Dana's boyfriend, and they make a nice couple. I still have the hypnotizing spray. I keep it hidden, although sometimes I use it on Fred when he needs a bath. Apollo is now a member of our family. Fred is a little jealous of him, but they're usually friends. I told my parents the entire story. They seem to believe me, especially because no one can find Paul. In the beginning, his father looked for him, but he soon stopped worrying. Sometimes Dana and I talk about Clyreg and our adventure. We remember Paul. On many evenings, alone in my garden, I look up at the sky and think about him. Good night, Paul, wherever you are. See you soon. Extremely embarrassed. Don't worry, Since you're here, please come in. I climbed down the tree. Paul was very nervous. Come on, Jenny, let's go away before it's too late. No, Paul, I'm going in. But I went towards Mr. Stone's front door, so Paul followed. The teacher opened the door and made us sit down in his living room.